In the weeks after October 7th, Netanyahu faced internal coup from his own party members. They had the numbers. They couldn't agree on who should replace him. Now, a departing lawmaker is saying it out loud. For the first time, internal rivalries stopped the rebellion before it could begin. The only reason it didn't happen was ambition. One of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's departing lawmakers has claimed that a significant bloc within the ruling Likud party sought to replace him in the weeks following Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack, but failed to unite behind an alternative leader. Dan Illouz, who announced he will leave Likud before Israel's next general election, made the claims during an interview with Inet's political podcast, describing what he said was a serious internal effort to change Israel's leadership while the country was at war. According to Illouz, discussions began only after the immediate shock of the Hamas attack had subsided. Illouz said many lawmakers believed the government needed new leadership, but argued that competing ambitions among potential successors ultimately prevented any challenge from succeeding.
At the time after October 7th, and they're welcome to deny it as much as they want, at least one-third of the faction was prepared for a dramatic move. The only reason it didn't happen wasn't that there weren't enough numbers. It was because they argued over who should go first, who should be the person to replace him.
Netanyahu has repeatedly rejected calls to resign over the Hamas attack, arguing that changing leadership during wartime would weaken Israel's military campaign. The Prime Minister's coalition has survived repeated political crises throughout the war, despite growing disagreements over military strategy, hostage negotiations, judicial reforms, and the controversial issue of military exemptions for ultra-Orthodox men. Illouz said his own break with Likud was driven not only by policy disagreements, but by what he described as the party's refusal to accept responsibility for the events of October 7th. The Canadian-born lawmaker, who immigrated to Israel in 2009 and joined Likud the same day he received Israeli citizenship, said he believed elected leaders could not simply distance themselves from the country's worst security failure.
The breaking point was much deeper than the ideological issues. It was October 7th. I realized I was an elected official during the term in which this happened. There is no way to escape responsibility. When something like October 7th happens, a country that wants to live cannot simply continue business as usual. That should also be reflected in changing the leadership.
Illouz also rejected attempts to place responsibility solely on Israel's military and intelligence agencies. He argued that accountability should extend across the political and security establishment, including the government itself, and renewed calls for an official commission of inquiry into the failures that allowed Hamas's attack to take place. He said the issue had become one of the defining reasons for his departure from Likud, arguing that the coalition had abandoned principles the party once claimed to represent.
The partnership with the ultra-Orthodox parties has become an existential danger to the state of Israel. Before October 7th, I viewed military service primarily as a matter of values. Afterwards, it became clear that this is also an urgent national security issue. Without soldiers, there is no state of Israel.
Illouz, who has not yet announced which political party he may join ahead of Israel's October election, said he still hopes Likud remains part of Israel's next government. But he made clear that, in his view, the party should enter that government under different leadership. Illouz's account provides one of the most detailed public descriptions so far of internal dissatisfaction within Likud after October 7th, although no other senior party figures have publicly confirmed the existence or scale of the reported effort to replace Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli parliament has passed one of the most controversial pieces of legislation in recent years, reigniting a bitter national debate over military service, equality, and the future of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's governing coalition. On July 14th, the Knesset approved a coalition-backed bill that temporarily shields tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox draft evaders from arrest and criminal prosecution, effectively freezing most Haredi enlistment into the Israel Defense Forces for the coming months. The legislation triggered scenes of extraordinary political chaos inside Parliament as opposition lawmakers repeatedly heckled Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as he entered the Knesset chamber. The confrontation unfolded during the final debate over legislation that temporarily suspends the arrest and prosecution of Haredi men who refuse mandatory military service. Despite several defections from Netanyahu's own coalition, the bill narrowly passed by 58 votes to 54. Netanyahu attended part of the debate but left the chamber before the final vote and did not cast a ballot. The legislation grants tens of thousands of Haredi draft evaders immunity from arrest until late January 2027, while also extending protection to those who become eligible for military service after the law takes effect. It additionally freezes ongoing criminal proceedings against those already facing enforcement action, effectively preserving widespread exemptions from military service. The measure forms part of a broader package of legislation demanded by Israel's ultra-Orthodox coalition partners, who have long sought to protect yeshiva students from compulsory military service. The law, however, has generated fierce opposition from the IDF, military leaders, legal experts, reservists, opposition parties, and civil society groups, many of whom argue it deepens inequality at a time when Israel continues to fight prolonged regional conflicts. The political fallout was immediate. New Hope MK and Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell resigned from the government in protest shortly after the vote, calling the legislation harmful to both Israel's security and those already serving in uniform. Opposition parties and several NGOs also filed petitions before Israel's High Court of Justice, arguing the legislation legitimizes mass draft evasion while violating the constitutional principle of equality in sharing the burden of military service. Meanwhile, Haredi lawmakers warned that judicial intervention could trigger widespread civil unrest. The legislation itself followed an intense parliamentary battle that included overnight debates, lengthy opposition filibusters, and 1,748 formal objections, as Netanyahu's coalition rushed to complete key legislation before the Knesset dissolves ahead of Israel's October 27th elections. Several coalition lawmakers also broke ranks to oppose the bill, including religious Zionism MK Moshe Solomon, Likud lawmakers Yuli Edelstein, and Dan Illouz, both of whom recently announced they were leaving the party over the issue. Opposition leader Yair Lapid delivered one of the chamber's sharpest attacks against coalition members.
If you would have told one of you that one day you will go into the filling and you will vote against IDF soldiers, and you will vote for independence, and you will vote for values, and you will vote for the erasing of all values of Zionism, you would not be able to feed your stomach. After all, in another year, 2 or 3 years, you will stand alone in front of yourselves, and you will have to answer to yourselves what happened to you on that day.
Later, Lapid escalated his criticism in a post on X.
2 days ago, the draft Dodger law. Yesterday, the deserters law. Last night, the jobs law for thousands of kosher supervisors of dairy. There has never been a government as corrupt as this one. There has never been submission and groveling like that of the Likud. We will return, we will cancel everything, down to the very last clause, and then we will go and fix it. Together.
Former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett also condemned the legislation, directing his message toward Israeli soldiers.
First of all, I would like to appeal to our IDF soldiers, our sons and daughters, to the police, to the security forces, to our heroic volunteers. I see you. Hold on tight. It can be hard when you see these laws, but hold on tight, dear soldiers. Even when the current government is at war with you, we are at war for you. This government does not see you. It does not care. It knows that you are suffering. The disaster is approaching, just like before the 7th of October.
Bennett added that the burden on serving troops had become unsustainable.
Dear friends, we cannot stand in the hands of the IDF at the moment because there are no soldiers. It brings us to tears. So I would like to say to the soldiers, in my name, in the name of the entire nation, we are with you. Raise your heads, and together we will fix this terrible pain. We will rebuild the Zionist Union, a union of servants, and we will strengthen Israel.
The vote marks another major victory for Netanyahu's ultra-Orthodox coalition partners. Still, it also deepens one of Israel's most divisive domestic disputes, whether thousands of Haredi men should continue receiving broad exemptions from compulsory military service. At the same time, the country remains engaged in prolonged conflict, and the IDF repeatedly warns of critical manpower shortages.